In this video, we're going to be introduced to IBM's Bluemix cloud environment. Bluemix is a platform for developers to build applications and using different services and runtimes. You build and deploy in the cloud. Development is very simple. So let's take a look at Bluemix. As I said, it's IBM's implementation of an open cloud architecture. It's designed for rapid application development. So with Bluemix, you can code in your choice of language. Java, Python, Ruby, or Node.js are common runtime supported. You can focus on creating your apps and not worry about installing software and locating hardware. So the open platform has a catalog of many pre-built services and hosting infrastructure. So let's take a look. It's built on top of the Cloud Foundry open source technology we'll look at in a second. So this is the main page. It's an open beta, so you'll have to join the beta to get a hands-on activity with Bluemix. So we're just going to scroll down and take a look at some of the features. This is the user interface we'll see in a minute. You can build your application as a composite application with different services and runtimes. This one's using a push notification for mobile applications. Down here we see we have different runtimes, web and application services. We're going to focus on big data and analytic environment called BLU Acceleration. So you're familiar with BLU Acceleration for cloud. It's the same infrastructure, and it's supported from Bluemix as well to develop your application. You can also add services like monitoring and analytics to your application. So let's get started. So if we first of all take a look at the documentation. The documentation for Bluemix is integrated, and the developer community is rapidly growing, and I want to show you one of the applications. If you browse the docs, you'll see there are a number of sample code and different articles. Under articles, there's an excellent article we'll look at the details of in a subsequent video, because it uses Ruby and Sinatra along with BLU Acceleration to do a business intelligence application. Let's take a look at what that application looks like, because we can see it running in the cloud. So we'll just click on Run the App, take a quick look at it. So here's our application. The application is using BLU Acceleration and Google Charts, all within a Ruby environment. We can take a look at our sales across by region and see it as a data visualization. We can see that our best sales was in the Americas in 2012. We could just go back and look at another query. This query, along with other queries, can be we can see this query shows us profit by product line, by product by year. Let's get back to the documentation. So if we go back to the docs, let's quickly look at what the architecture of Bluemix is like. So as an overview, Bluemix provides a user interface to interact and build and deploy your application. There's also command line tools available, and you'll see that in a minute based on Cloud Foundry. You can deploy your application into a virtual machine, and then your users will interact with your application, and the application will be running within a virtual machine, an IBM's cloud environment built on soft layer infrastructure. Okay, so let's get started. Let's log in. When we log into Bluemix, we'll be provided a user interface known as the dashboard, and it'll tell us what applications and services we currently have running in our environment, or defined and not running. Here we have up to 8 gigs of memory available for our applications and up to 20 services. Right now my dashboard showing I have no applications deployed. So let's create an application. Our application will pick a runtime, so it could be, as I said, Java, Ruby, etc. We'll use Ruby for this one. Ruby Sinatra is a great environment to do some quick web applications. It's also a very scalable environment, so we'll just call this BLU Excel, and this will be the host name for our application. Okay, so that's all there is to it. The application will be provisioned. We'll just wait for it. It's staging right now. This environment, this area here of the dashboard will provide us an up-to-date information and tell us when the application is available to be tested. Okay, our dashboard's indicating that the application has been deployed and it's ready to be used. So within our status indicator, if we click on any of these, it provides extra information. So this tells us, welcome to our new Ruby Sinatra app. It recommends that we install the Cloud Foundry command line tool we'll discuss in other videos. And there's a starter application package if you want to get started with it. Otherwise, you can just click here and access the application. So we'll click, here's our application. It's telling us the level of Ruby that's built on Sinatra. And these are the environment variables that are provided. So it doesn't really do much at this point. So let's go back to Bluemix. Now, we want to build an analytics application. So to build an analytics application, we need to add a service to our application. So we'll click here and we're going to add a service. So we'll find the BLU Acceleration service. We can view the documentation to learn a bit more about it. BLU Acceleration service is free to use. It's part of the beta. You can store up to 10 gigabytes of raw data. It'll be compressed down to 1 gigabyte, or you could increase your storage if you need. You can interact with the BLU Acceleration environment using its own web console, third-party tools from your desktop, or within Bluemix, we're going to use this environment variable that'll be added, populated, the VCAP services environment variable, to be able to connect from our Ruby app and build out our application. So let's take a quick, if we go down to the bottom of this, we see we have a sample application. Let's download that. This is a Ruby Sinatra application. Let's download that because we're going to use that to test out our environment. The BLU Acceleration Ruby Sinatra application, all we have to do is include the IBM DB gem into our application, and we're going to connect, like I mentioned, with the environment variables. So let's just download this. Here's the application. Okay, so let's add this BLU Acceleration service to our application. We only have one application. If we had a number, we'd have to select. So this will add BLU Acceleration to our application. So we have a Ruby app environment with a BLU Acceleration service that's available. Okay, so to actually have a application connection, we have to re-provision our application, and so the application we downloaded can be used for that. Let's take a look at that application. Here's where the application we downloaded is located. So we'll take a look at some of these files. So the application just loads a driver, finds the services, so it knows how to connect to the app, to the database, to the environment, and it's going to just list some tables just to verify that we're connected and everything's working fine. Some other important files here include the manifests, which will provide the information on how to deploy the application. We're going to make one small change to that. Because we want this name to match the name that we already created. So our application is called BLU Excel. So we're going to call it BLU Excel. So that it's going to refresh that existing application. It's also going to use this build pack, which is the connectivity. Build packs are used within a cloud environment to add extra functionality to your application. So I'm just going to save that. And all I have to do now is push this application. The CF, or Cloud Foundry command line tool, is used to push applications to the cloud. There's other techniques of doing that. You can use JazzHub, but the Cloud Foundry tool is very useful. We'll just give it a second. Okay, we see that our instance is started and our environment, our web application is now available. So let's reload it. Here's our existing application. We're going to reload it and see that it connected to the database fine and it returned the tables. So now we know our Ruby Sinatra environment is working with BLU Acceleration for Cloud.